Oh, hello there. Welcome back to Cinema Flicks and Music Picks. I'm Dave, your host with the most, the beast with the least. Well, the least we can do today, probably the second time today, actually, now I come to think of it, is look at the new album by Mr. Paul Simon, for it is he, Seven Psalms, and wowie, this is going to really appeal to some people, and it's going to put other people to sleep. And some of the people that it appeals to, it might accidentally put you to sleep. To go into it, what you get here is a mostly solo acoustic or acoustic based album, which is one long track. And I thought it was maybe, I was like, oh, is it just this disc? I checked, and no, this is the way Paul intended it. Even on streaming, I think it's just one like 33-minute thing. So it's seven psalms, but it's one piece. It's one prayer book, if you will. So it's one pretty continual piece of music. There are occasional stops, but some tracks do bleed into each other. I assumed that was going to be more like oh, it's the Graceland, the bookends example. Oh yeah, when Save the Life of My Child bleeds into America with the. Well, that wasn't one song, so I just assumed it was going to be like that. Anyway, that doesn't really matter because this isn't the kind of album you're going to want to split up. You're not going to say, oh, I really like that one track. Essentially, it's all the same, and I don't mean that in a bad way. There are a couple of pieces actually where that's not the case. Towards the end, we get the addition of Edie Bricknell, who sings on the Sacred Harp and Wait, which are indeed the last two tracks. But it starts out with Paul just solo acoustic, and he's on all sorts of acoustic stuff. He's on acoustic guitar, high strung electric, but believe me, when it says electric, it's very low key. It's not, he's not Chuck Berry all of a sudden. Dobro and baritone. So everything on here is very, very mellow, acoustic, laid back. The percussion isn't even drum. I mean, there's a bit of talking drum, but bells and gongs. But those are more texture. Those are more backgrounds. They aren't part of the furniture. Sometimes they're even just in place for the transitional things between psalms. And then keyboards, glockenspiel, and harmonium, etc. Same story. That's not the crux of the proposition. That's more just the bridge, if you will, the space between us all. So it starts with the Lord. And listen to the names of the tracks and you kind of get where he's going. The Lord, Love is Like a Braid, My Professional Opinion, Your Forgiveness, Trail of Volcanoes, The Sacred Harp, and Wait. So there's the kind of things you'd expect from Paul Simon here in more esoteric titles like My Professional Opinion, but there's a much more devotional Paul Simon here, which, I mean, the Lord, I've been thinking about the Great Migration. In the night they flee the dark. Imagine their destination, meadow grass and jagged rock, and it's very, very Paul Simon. But if your favourite Paul Simon album is the Paul Simon song, but you're gonna love this. You're absolutely gonna love this. And he's saying, "The Lord is my engineer. The Lord is the earth I ride on. The seeds we gather from the gardener's glove live forever. Nothing dies of too much love." And he's still got away with words. Love is like a braid, some say, and I don't disbelieve it. Cowrie shells, fine combs made of jade to ornament and weave it. I lived a life of pleasant sorrows until a life of real deal came, brought me like a twig in a winter gale and called me by my name. Paul's a poet and he knows it, and it's just great to have, I think, the most ambient thing he's ever done, the most laid back and breezy. It sounds like a derogatory thing. I don't mean it like that at all. It's a calm down album. It should be called Seven Valium, because that's essentially what you get. I mean, even the track that sounds like it may be a bit more, oh, is it going to be angry on that? My professional opinion. Good morning, Mr. Indignation. Looks like you haven't slept all night. In my professional opinion, go back and turn off your light. That's just as the same melody and as laid back as the first track about the Lord and blah blah blah. All rise to the occasion, all sink into despair. In my professional opinion, we're better off not going there. I heard two cows in conversation, one called the other a name. In my professional opinion, all cows in the country should take the blame. So, he's putting in a little bit of allegory there. Allegory. I'm just going to be doing the same thing on each track here if I run through them all like that. But then when the Sacred Harp hits in, that's when we get the lovely vocal duets with Edie Bricknell. And Edie does a wonderfully low-key thing with everything on here is low-key. Just take that as read. There's not a moment that's going to perk you up. Everything on here is laid back. And they just have a lovely low-key vibe to them, a lovely harmony. But it's not quite, I mean, Paul's voice has been a little bit, he's never lost his voice, but it's a little bit flickery now in his 80s. And so it gives it a vulnerability. It gives it a real vulnerability to hear these songs. And then to go back to, he even goes back to the Lord, a reprise, but it's not even called reprise. And then Wait, I'm not ready, I'm just packing my gear, my hand's steady and my mind is still clear. Yeah, I mean, it does end on a kind of note of, take me, Lord, I'm ready to go, hallelujah. I hope that's not the case, and Paul lives another 20, 30 years and lives to be 110. But there's not really much you can say about this. There really isn't. It's not that kind of album where you can say, right, this track rocks and it's got this great drum fill and it's got a great soul, and then this track sounds a bit jazzy and it's a bit more up tempo, and then this track's solo acoustic and blah blah blah. This is very much one piece. I can see exactly why he wants it to be a single track on digital platforms and on record. Everything on it sounds of a piece. So that, to be honest, it feels like you could almost take the track names and just wipe them and just treat it as Paul Simon's written a 33-minute song. But I think you earn more if your publishers say you've written 7, because Paul needs the money. No, I'm sure that's not the reason, but no, it makes perfect sense the way you split it up into these different psalms which tell different ideas with different allegories, different problems to solve and different conclusions, usually kind of relatively the same solution, which is forgiveness, devotion, faith, hope, charity kind of thing. There's no great originality in the sentiments, but in the phrasing, in the lyricism and the poetry of Paul Simon. I've always thought he was truly one of the great poets in music. It is untouchable. It is. You're not going to compare it to Graceland, so there's no point in doing that. You're not going to compare it to There Goes Rhymin' Simon or the self-titled. No, this is an entirely different record for an entirely different mood, for an entirely older audience, for an entirely younger audience that I think might be able to use a little bit of something a bit more laid back in a very modern world that doesn't take time to let you lay back very often. So again, there isn't much to say about this. There really isn't. I'm not going to go for 20 minutes on this one. I think this is highly recommended to just take a little step back with an old friend like Paul Simon, who will, when you're lying back, just stick it on. It's like a lullaby. It's not even preachy, even though it's 7 psalms and he does sing about God. It doesn't feel like you're listening to a sermon, a Simon sermon. It never feels like that. It just feels lovely. It's lovely. It's a warm blanket on a winter's day. A winter's day in a deep and dark December. Anyway, don't get me started. I just might tell everything I know. Anyway, folks, again, that's, even though I said I didn't have much to say, we've still done 10 minutes. I think you'll like this if you like Paul Simon. You might still think it's too laid back for you, but believe me, the modern world is so pacey that I think there's room for somebody to do exactly this. And I'm glad it's Paul, and he's written some beautiful lyrics. Because yeah, again, don't do ratings here, but if I did, it would be 9 out of 10. Should add the out of 10, because if it was 9 out of 100, this is a bad record. No, seriously, check it out. I can't even do the usual and recommend a track because it's all one track. So check it all out, folks, is the kind of message of the day. Until next time, was there anything else coming up over the weekend? I'll try and get a film thing out because I'm doing a lot of music at the moment. It's just the way things are coming out. Blur released a new an album announcement yesterday, so it's going to be even more. Never ends. No rest for the wicked, and ain't no more wicked than me. If they only knew. Stay very safe out there, though. And until next time, the usual folks, love and indeed mercy.